Hello, everyone, and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. Come to you, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Galactic Empire. My name is John Mark Tolley, and joining me today, as always, is my co-host,
Garrett K. Jones.
and we can make the official announcement, our new co-host, Brian
Karasik.
That's right, like Jurassic. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Karasik. We made the decision last week. We had so much fun. We decided to bring him back again and again and again and again. And as long as he wants to be on the show.
Absolutely. Yes. And now there'll be no getting rid of me. This is great. I appreciate you guys having me on board. It's good to be on the show.
Not a problem. Cool. And as our new co-host, we thought it was only fair that this first episode with him, that we get to know him a little bit more, and his Star Wars fandom, and how he became a fan, and some of the adventures. I know he's been to a lot of cons, and some of his con ventures. I don't know.
Thank you, Mark. Honestly, an hour is a bit of a governor to place on my genius, but I think I can make it work. I'm 50 years old. I'm kind of the textbook nerd. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Anything with a star in it, I'm there. Gate, Wars, Trek, Battle, I'm there. Black, dark, I'll take it. One of my earliest memories is actually going to see the first Star Wars movie in the theater with my parents. No business bringing me to that movie at 4 years old, but there we have it. And this is the kind of nerd I was. I brought my Luke and Leia figures with me. Nice. They were on a date because we didn't know. And I remember, honestly, at this point, I'm not sure if I remember doing this or if I just remember having told the story so many times, but I remember telling my parents, hey, like, don't tell them where we're going, because I wanted it to be like a nice surprise for Luke and Leia that we're going to go see their movie. So, and I was a Darth Vader guy. Like, I was just like, the bad guys to me have always had the best aesthetic. I always think that's interesting. Like, who is designing these bad guy outfits? And I always make jokes like, when Anakin got the all black and brown outfit, I feel like someone should have been like, hey, he's really, I feel like he's dressing the part already. I always think it'd be funny to have like an outtake where we see Anakin looking at a tablet or something. He's playing with a filter that's giving him yellow eyes, and Kenobi comes in. What are you doing? Nothing, Master. But at any rate, when we met Darth Vader, I was just like fully on board. Oh my gosh, because I was a D&D kid too. So here we got this giant cyborg Death Knight with a laser sword. Sign me up. And I was Darth Vader for Halloween 2 years in a row. But then in 1980, we learned that my guy has a master. And the master's an evil wizard. And fellas, if I'm going to dress up in a costume, I know what I'm working with. I am way more evil wizard than giant warrior. So like, oh yeah, give me a bathrobe. I'm all set. So, and even back then, I was a stuck-up cosplayer. I remember getting one of those Darth Vader costumes. It's a plastic mask with a rubber band, right?
Yep.
And I remember, like, Darth Vader doesn't wear a smock that says Star Wars on it with a picture of himself. That's not a costume. It's just a crossing guard outfit. I wanted a plastic smock that had the buttons and stuff on it. So, 1980. Halloween, I went as the Emperor for Halloween. Now, he's on screen for 2 minutes and 14 seconds. We don't see much of him, but there I am in a bathrobe with a pillowcase for a hood, and everybody's all night is like, where's your scythe, Grim Reaper? Where's your scythe? I'm not the Grim Reaper! The son of Anakin Skywalker must not be allowed to become a Jedi! I was just straight on board, and to this day, I'm a Palpatine cosplayer. I'm not in the 501st, but my costume is 501st ready, and I've gone to... 2 celebrations. I went to 17 and 19, and that's in Orlando and Chicago, respectively. And I've gone to the hospitals to visit children there, and that's in hindsight. I know I'm in the future too, Garrett. In hindsight, going to hospitals to visit sick children as the Emperor, maybe not the best look, but they don't want to talk to me. I'm there with a Darth Vader, a Luke, a Boba Fett, and a couple of stormtroopers, and the kids are like, "Get the old guy out of the way."
Oh.
And I spend the afternoon.
I was just thinking, especially after with your one thing, if they don't quite know who the Emperor is, they just see a guy in a hood at a hospital. They're like, "Oh,
he's here. But no, I luckily I was not in a terminal ward, so I discussed this with the doctors. That I was like, is this going to be okay? Like my character kind of kills a lot of children, and oh no. Besides, that was Anakin anyway. Okay, you see the film, but it's funny though because I enjoy that kind of interaction, and to me that's what going to a con is. It's getting to play Star Wars. At 47 years old, at 50 years old, I get to put on a costume and play Star Wars sometimes with children, sometimes with grown-ups. And it's an environment where it's appropriate for everyone to have an imagination. And one of my favorite moments for that came at that day where one of the doctors was hey, so sorry you're not getting much attention from the kids. And of course it's not about that, but yeah, I mean I did come a long way. It was cool of him, but I'm not going to break character. So instead, what I said was,
I'm only the villain of 7 films and 3 television shows, but oh no, it's Lord Vader this and Darth Vader that. And don't get me started on Boba Fett. You've seen 1.2 million of them.
And that kind of riffing is just what really gets me. I feel like I love going to conventions to meet almost meet celebrities. I've only paid to meet one. I paid to meet Ian McDiarmid in Chicago, and that was worth it. The guy's such a gentleman. Like, it's just unbelievable. So, but in many cases, if you're in costume, you're the celebrity of some of these people. And like, I have parents, moms, and dads who want their kids to meet the Emperor, and the kid's like, no thanks, I'm all set. But no, go on, buddy, go on. So one sec. I didn't warm up my Sidious pipes. I met a kid in Orlando who was absolutely terrified, and I didn't want to mess with him because like parents will tell you scare my kid, like they want the full experience. And this kid's just like wanted nothing to do with me, and he started getting a little emotional. And so I took my hood off. I was like, "Hey, buddy, my name's Brian. I'm just playing Star Wars. Do you want to play Star Wars?" Oh, okay. So I set my lightsaber to give it a purple blade. All right, I want you to be Mace Windu. So I give my saber and I lay down, and that was a mistake because that kid was just chopping wood on my leg. I had a bruise for days. He's wailing on me with a full contact ultra saber. But I'm here for the bit, right? So I'm like, no, I'm too weak, I'm too old. Oh. And someone in the crowd, because there's a group watching, someone in the group that says, now you will die, Sidious. Like, well,
no, you will die.
And now the kid's scared again. So it's hard to get a win with that.
Next time you'll know to wear shin pads.
Yeah, for sure. But that kind of moment is great. And a lot of times, like you meet, I don't know if you saw 10, 15 years ago, there was actually probably 20 now. If you look up Sith Girl, there's a little girl who went to Disney for like the Jedi Training Academy. And when Darth Vader shows up, she takes a knee. Like she immediately wants to join him. And I've read some about that young girl. And of course, she's a grown up now and has grown up loving Star Wars. But at the time, her dad's like, "Oh, Darth Talon's her favorite Sith." Like, it's a little inappropriate. Oh, no, my 8-year-old, like, do you let her cosplay? Like, what's the deal? Darth Talon, totally inappropriate for children. But that kind of moment, it's really fun too. I met a kid in Chicago where he came up to me in a great Jedi costume, and he said, "You're mean. You made Anakin bad, and I'm going to kill you." And I said,
"Well, you wouldn't strike down an unarmed opponent, would you, young Jedi? It's not the Jedi way."
And he kind of, all right. He's like, hey, I'm playing with him now. He said, "Okay, but I'm watching you." Well, I had a lightsaber hidden in my cloak. So he turned around and I said, "Young Jedi," and I popped it. And said, "I found a weapon." And he forgot all about Star Wars, guys. He dropped his lightsaber on the ground and he gave me a perfect day one of karate class. Right into my groin.
Oh,
I had to take a knee. I mean, he got a solid shot in. So it's shin guards, Garrett, and a cup now too. And his dad's mortified because this kid has technically just assaulted me, but I had it coming. I wanted to scare him. You get what you get. And so he's like, I'm so sorry.
No, the force is strong with this one, etc. And so, Papa Palpatine's got to sit down.
And so I just went off. But the kid was great. And I love those moments because that kid will hopefully remember for the rest of his childhood the day he took out Darth Sidious in Chicago.
Great.
Without a lightsaber.
Force is strong with his cleats.
Another fun moment, I remember. I will cherish these moments forever. Like I don't wear the costume because I don't want attention, and people will ask for a picture, and of course I'm going to say yes, but it's no fun to say yes because I'm in character. I'm the Emperor. I'm never going to say no. So the happy medium between that is
It is your destiny.
and then they will stand next to me, and in Chicago, at breakfast at the hotel one morning, I overheard a conversation with a family, and so I knew this young woman's name when she 3 hours later wanted a picture with me. So she doesn't know who I am, but I know who she is. And so as she's standing next to me, I say to her, so only she can hear,
It is inevitable the dark side will bring you to my service, Samantha. Already you have taken steps on a path that will lead you inexorably to my side. In time, you will call me Master.
and she was done. That's all she was like, I'm out. Like I maybe alluded to that last week, but that kind of moment is just priceless to me because we're in a fandom that spans decades, generation, and you can meet anyone. And this is something I've always thought about cons. A Star Wars convention specifically is 30,000 of your best friends you haven't met yet.
Yeah.
And it can be a bit of a downer coming off that. Like I laughed with my wife when I came home from Star Wars Celebration 19. I just spent 7 days where everybody who met me told me how great I am and or treated me like the ruler of the galaxy. And now it's like, can you take the trash out? So it's it's an adjustment, right? But yeah, you can always, we kind of smell our own. I'll wear a Star Wars t-shirt. I'm wearing a Star Wars t-shirt now. This is from Uniqlo in Japan.
Uniqlo is a really good brand.
It is, but you know what? It's embarrassing to go shopping for clothes in Japan, Garrett, because I am an LXL in America, and that makes me a double XL in Japan. We not have this size. Maybe we check it back. So, sorry. But let me see. I did get to I met Ian McDiarmid, I mentioned, and some friends of mine surprised me with this event. They purchased a photo op for me. And on that day, I was wearing a Star Wars suit, which if you're familiar with Appa suits, they make it's a suit and trousers, but they make them in ugly sweater patterns. You probably have seen a guy in an R2-D2 pattern where it's just like the R2-D2 blue and white, but on a suit. Well, I have a Darth Vader one. So it's a black suit with little Vader faces all over it. I got a red silk tie that's all Imperial cogs. I have a Vader lightsaber lapel pin. I wear an Imperial belt buckle, pocket watch, the whole deal. I have a lightsaber umbrella that the stock lights up. So I happen to be wearing that suit on the day of the photo op. And people are like, oh, did you wear the helmet? No, I didn't wear the helmet. Then it's not a picture of me. It's a picture of some yahoo in a mask. But McDiarmid, he won't do Force Lightning-y stuff. He won't pretend to be evil. It's just a character. I don't do that. So I don't want to geek out at him too much. So I decide what I'm going to say is, Mr. McDiarmid, it's such a privilege to meet you. I love your work. Calm, cool, professional. Right, Mark?
Right.
No fanboy giggling here. Mr. McDiarmid, it's such a privilege to meet you. I love your work. Now, mind you, I've been watching every word this man has said on screen for the last 30 years. Technically, I've been playing this role longer than him because he was only cast in 83 and I was him for Halloween in 80, 81, and 82. So I don't want to come on too strong, though. You only got 45 seconds. So, Mr. McDiarmid, it's such a privilege to meet you. I love your work. So I walk in with the suit. I say this to him. And he claps me on the back, looks me up and down, and says, well, don't you look dashing? Thanks, I dressed up. All chill went completely out the window. But he was just so cool about it. And I got a great picture of me just grinning like the cat that just ate the canary.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
definitely.
Our fandom is known for being easily divided. And you read online about people I'm going to go to Celebration to tell Kathleen Kennedy what she needs to that's a lot of money to spend to get thrown out on day one, dude. Like, are you sure you want to go accost the staff? But you go there, and everybody there is just in love with Star Wars. You've probably seen. There's a young girl. I think she might be Filipino, just from talking to her dad. But a young Asian girl. One year she went as Jyn Erso, and she's like 5 or 6. Like, she's like my daughter's age now. She was 5 or 6, and she's in a great Jyn costume, and she's handing out little Death Star plans to every Leia cosplayer she sees. And
that was cool.
I like
that's a moment, like, child and grown up. They will. That's a moment between them that they will never forget. And I got to ruin one of them.
One of my favorite. I think I've mentioned this before, but one of my favorite memories of the prequels was just standing in line for the movies. Like waiting in line. I remember there was a Star Trek fan club that was there at the same time, and they were all in costume. And I got to see I wish I'd have had a video camera, but to watch a duel between a Klingon warrior with a bat'leth and a Darth Maul.
That's classic.
That was awesome.
Have you? So there's kind of a thing in Renaissance fairs where people will a certain kind of person will go to a Renaissance fair in a Starfleet uniform.
Yeah,
and
that is awesome.
I read. I wish there was a video of it, but I read an article about someone at the Ren Fair was prepared for this. So these Starfleet officers show up. And this guy comes up and, good morrow to you, citizens. And he pulls them aside, and he's got a Starfleet badge inside his like period piece. He's like, what are you doing? Have you never heard of the Prime Directive? You're messing with these people's history. And just like he's playing with them with it. And that's a great moment. I like that kind of meta joke. Yeah. Are you guys familiar with the like the Book of Sith, the Jedi Way?
Yes. I actually have a copy of Jedi Way, or the Jedi Path, and the Book of the Sith. I still have to get the Imperial Handbook and the Bounty Hunter's Code.
So the Imperial Handbook at Chicago, I saw a guy in a Imperial Lieutenant Commander uniform, and he had printed up a pad of infractions, and he was writing people tickets, and just like in a playful way. But it's a fun little prop, like a lot of cosplayers will give things away. I have artwork that I will give people one of these. This says, everything of significance is the result of conquest. And this is from the Book of Sith. That's Sidious's signature, or the closest to we have.
Yeah, that's a seal.
Yeah. So this guy is writing tickets to people for violating Imperial regulations at the convention. And that's funny.
I love that. Have you seen that? There's a lady that does that too. She's got a YouTube channel, and her whole thing is she works for HR.
Yes.
And she goes around and she's got.
That's funny. On day 2 of the con, I got to catch up with this guy because he's using the Imperial Handbook, like he's carrying it with him. Mm-hmm. And the Imperial Handbook, as all of these books do, has notes in the margin that are ostensibly from like various Imperial officers and also some rebels, because as I'm sure we all know, Han Solo was an Imperial TIE fighter pilot briefly. So I pull this guy aside and demand to see his handbook. And then I yell at him for defacing it.
You've written an Imperial property. I don't even think is this Han Solo?
Like just, and he wrote himself a ticket. Like he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And that kind of moment. Yeah.
Oh,
getting
I love that
getting
show.
to play along with people is priceless for that. It's worth
that.
The
I don't know why, but that reminded me of the scene from it was one of the ones of what's the Seth Green show?
Robot Chicken
with the Emperor going up the escalator.
I got to do that. There's 2 big escalators in McCormick Place in Chicago, and I got to a number of times some stormtroopers asked me, "Hey, could you stand up at the top and come down here?" So, that kind of thing is great. And actually at that same convention, totally coincidentally, there's this Luke Skywalker cosplayer who is married to a Mara Jade cosplayer. Come on. She also does the Dr. Aphra, unbelievable work. But Luke was posed up on this like courtyard landing place in the convention center with a Darth Vader, and they're just doing like an Instagram still. So their lightsabers crossed, intense emotion, and totally coincidentally, they are in front of an escalator. And while they are taking Instagram shots, I rise up out of the floor between them. And just a magical moment, because when I'm in costume, I'm an improv guy. I'm a theater kid. So if I'm in costume, I really try to be in character, unless someone asks me like, hey, could you do me a favor? Like that sort of thing. But if I'm just interacting with people, I'll just walk by and like, greetings, citizen. So I just rise up out of the floor and I'm like, making the face. And as soon as my head crossed the floor, the whole audience was like, oh, it was great. And I didn't get to do it, but that Luke had not yet proposed to his now wife at the time. And he asked me if I would officiate their wedding as Palpatine. And then COVID happened. So we didn't do that. But that sort of thing, like if ever I see a Mara Jade cosplayer, I will come up. I'm pretty quiet. So like I'll come up behind him while they're not looking and just like lean in.
You stay away from that Skywalker boy, my hand. He's no good for you.
Just and sidle away. Oh, but that young girl who was giving away plans, I let her, I don't want to step on the moment. So she gives Leia the plans, everyone claps, people take pictures, everyone says aw. And then she turns around and I'm in her face.
I believe you have something that belongs to me, Miss Urso.
And she I just ran off, and her dad's like, yes, high five, gotta go catch my kid. And then I saw her again. That was in Orlando. And then I saw her and her father again in Chicago 2 years later. And that time she was dressed as Kira from the Solo movie. And
Nice.
She's like running an errand for Darth Maul, which is really cool. And that Maul happened to be a guy that I like. But that, I think moments like that are key to the fandom, because it lets us build a community and reminds us, whether you liked Rise of Skywalker or not, don't you kind of like Star Wars? Like, and I think that's an unbelievable opportunity to meet and interact with people at all levels. Folks who have just, you've got my generation, the original trilogy, and a lot of us are like, oh, I don't like any other movies. I've met Star Wars fans who loudly and condescendingly will tell you at some length that the only two movies worth anything are Episode 4 and Episode 5. And they got a whole list, like Jedi's just a cash grab and it's too cutesy with the Ewoks and the stupid scene with the music in Jabba's palace. And then the prequel trilogy is too much CGI, too much politics. And then the sequels, like, oh, it's not the same. They're just trying to recreate. And I'm like, guys, there's 12 movies. You only like 2 of them. Are you sure you're a fan? And that's where it comes from. Like you said, John, it's not our Star Wars. It's our Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great concept. I really think that's great. I think that's key, because those moments where you and a total stranger have a moment that you will never forget are what builds this into reminds us all that this is a community. Mm-hmm. In North Carolina Comic-Con 2016, one of my first public Palpatines with a 501st level costume. I think I mentioned this maybe last week. Stop me if you heard this one, guys. But I found the head of security for the hotel.
Yes.
I was really okay, good. So that kind of moment. So I met McDiarmid, I met Ashley, and she was unbelievable. And she asked me if I knew my way around the venue. Like, she's going to show me where the soda machines are. Like, well, actually, could you get me an Uber? Because like my app's not working. But honestly, I go to the conventions. Each convention I've gone to, I average about 16 miles a day, just walking around the con, just walking, just bumping into people and just having those kind of moments. And even like if I go to a costume event, like back when there was such thing as Toys R Us, I'd go to Force Friday and then get gas on the way home. And one of my favorite memes is one I made of me gassing up my 98 Ford F-150 in full costume. And I got the gas station attendant to take a picture of me. It's like, man, standing there waiting. And I captioned it, Imperial Shuttle's not what they used to be. Because akin to Robot Chicken, I like playing the character as though I'm aware of the films.
Mhm.
I went to Force Awakens in costume as Palpatine, and I'm giving people grief because they're going to go see the movie.
You know, I don't know why anyone wants to see this film. You know, nothing worth seeing happens after Jedi anyway. And you know, that goes south in the final act.
And I complain when people don't like my character, and like people like Darth Revan, and I give them grief because Darth Revan's just a video game.
Well, press start to continue, Darth Mario. Good for you.
And just hassling them. And it's fun to do that kind of shtick where like I'm half robot chicken, but I can also turn that around and I'll do the in time you will call me master line to a kid and make them cry. I'll ask parents like how much Palpatine do you want here? And I give them on a scale of robot chicken to Rebels, like that scene where Palpatine encounters Ahsoka and Ezra. He's seeing them through a portal into the world between the worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Ezra Bridger.
He's pretty dark. Like not everybody wants their kids exposed to that, but you give the people what they want.
Yeah. And you know, the con experience that I had when I went to Celebration in 2015 was actually pretty epic. I mean, we were only there for the one day. It was the Saturday. It was the busiest day of the entire thing, and it was just really cool. It was overwhelming because I mean, there was so much to do. There was so much to check out, but it was also one of the neatest experiences that I got to have. I went with my ex-wife and her daughter. The tickets were kind of an early Mother's Day gift, and because I mean we were both big Star Wars fans to the point where we did a Star Wars wedding. Very subtle in our themes, but it's not often you go to a wedding where they have a Unity lightsaber instead of a Unity candle.
Yeah, we did the instead of the swords walking through into our me and my wife's reception. We did lightsabers, so we walked under the lightsabers. We did that, and then for the groom's cake, we had the little characters. We had a Luke, a Han Solo, a Leia, and then an R2D2 with little dog ears because at the time we had a little Westie, so that was on our groom's cake.
Conversely, my wife is not a fan, so I love her anyway. She puts up with a lot. There's 3 shelves and another shelf back here and a wall of Star Wars art in our office. And my wife,
you can see.
Oh yeah,
that's my little. Yeah, not much. That Yoda, that was the first gift. I don't know if I've ever told this story on air. That was the first gift that my wife ever got me when we got married. It was for my birthday. And she got this at this outdoor fair she goes to every year in Indiana. And they do kind of like artsy craft stuff. And it was at spray paint.
Oh, wow.
All done with hand with spray paint. And she was making a huge deal about this the whole time. Like, you're going to love this gift. You're going to love it. I open up, the first thing I do when I look at it is say, what is it? It took me 1 second because at first I looked at it, is it the Hulk or is it Yoda? It took me 1 second.
That's
I'm
funny.
Like, and she never has let me live that down. But at one point she said she's going to put it on the wall behind the door. So I didn't have to look at it. She's like, I'll never get you anything again. But the only poster that I'm missing, I still need to get the Jedi poster because I got the original, the New Hope one, the original Star Wars Empire. I just got to get Jedi.
Are those displays? I've seen a lot of really nice work done on those like metal plate posters. Have you seen those?
No, it is.
Okay.
No, it's regular wood. But one thing that was cool when we went to in the our first con, me and my daughter's first con was she was dressed in that same outfit you saw her in with the that Vader, and she always wanted to make sure that everyone addressed her as Lady Vader. She was not Lord Vader; she's Lady Vader. And asking, seeing people in, the 501st in full costume, and the first one we walked up to was a scout trooper, And of course, we asked him, can we get your picture? And he said, of course, she's the boss. So we got a picture of him, and
that is a big part of the fun, is interacting with people in character. Like, hey, we're all. It's not there's a obviously we're all cosplayers and we're at this convention, but it's really fun to have those moments of we are stormtroopers visiting this planet. I think that's a great moment.
Yeah, and at one point I had to go to the bathroom, and I didn't want to leave her by myself there, so there was a group of Imperial Imperial officers. So they watched Lady Vader while I had to use the facility for a couple minutes.
That is something I've always loved is a crossover or like an out of universe interpretation. I'm sure you've seen the Muppet Empire.
Yeah.
These guys who do like full stormtrooper costume, but with Muppet heads, and then Gonzo as Darth Vader. Those are great. And I met a mother and daughter who they were in Orlando. She was Belle from Beauty and the Beast as a Jedi. And she had like a color appropriate lightsaber. Like she had clearly picked this hilt and blade to match her Belle costume. There's an amazing cosplayer named Cosplay Meg who is a professional. And she has a Mandalorian Merida, the protagonist from Brave.
Oh, that's cool.
I think that's awesome. And something that I think I mentioned this to you, I've been playing with the Emperor Palpatine as a llama joke.
Yes.
I like that walker. I've seen that.
The funny thing is that's not an old man.
That's of course not.
A 20-year-old girl.
So I saw an amazing cosplay. They're all amazing, but I saw an amazing cosplayer who was doing K2SO, and she had a bodysuit on and then armor plating, and she was on like painter stilts and walking like a droid. And like you can see, people take movement classes, like they take dance training to move like a droid, to move like whatever creature they do. I've seen it's inspirational to see that work. And it's really fun to see interpretations. Like there's two women I've seen at two different conventions who do like Hutt Slayer Leia, but one of them is Poison Ivy, one of them is Harley Quinn. And similarly, there's a husband wife who she said it, not me, Booby Fett. And so she's like in sort of a you can imagine Boba Fett, an interpretation of Mandalorian Army, shall we say. And he is in an interpretation of the Hutt Slayer Leia outfit. And guys, I'm not, but I would. I mean, I got to say the guy does it justice. Like you can usually find, there's usually a pretty good sized fella wearing that outfit at every convention you go to. Like, and he's got a sense of humor about it. You're like, day one, you're Malakili, the Rancor trainer. Day two, you got the Hutt Slayer bikini on. Own it. I love that.
Yeah.
But it's really fun to see that. I met a guy who did a Sith Superman, where he had makeup on, like his face is kind of stony and cracked. You know that, like they did it with Ahsoka in the arc where she like is tainted by the dark side briefly.
Oh
yeah.
And like they really like that sort of crumbling effect, and that. I want to touch on that because I know a young cosplayer in North Carolina who Dave Filoni is on video saying, "You are my favorite Ahsoka." She's the only one I've ever seen do the dark Ahsoka cosplay. And she does the full makeup and she's got the blades. And I tell you, this is kind of my shtick with Ahsoka. I didn't care for her up front. I didn't think it was cool. Like I'm a veteran. I don't like seeing the Padawan making up funny nicknames for the Master. Like, Master will do fine, thanks. Sky Guy, you can go out the window. I don't care for that. But she really won me over in seeing how she's interacted with that kind of, how they told her story. And you can tell Filoni is in love with Ahsoka Tano. Like, there's just no... She comes on screen, she's unstoppable. She's Filoni's Thrawn. You're right. Ahsoka is to Filoni as Thrawn is to Zahn. Yeah. That's funny. That reminded me that I love seeing the authors, because not all of them are like face recognizable, but like Christy Golden, Mark Thompson, who is the narrator for like half of the Star Wars galaxy. If you've ever seen him, I met Matt Lanter very briefly, in Orlando, and I recognize it. Excuse me, Mr. Lanter. I mean, I'm probably 30 years older than him, but sure, let's say, Mr. Lanter, I love your work. I can tell how much artistry you put into it. I'm so glad I had a chance to thank you. And I told him, like, this is kind of a D-bag thing to do, and I shouldn't have done this, but I asked him if he'd say something, and I completely deserved what he did. I said, could you say something for me? He said, sure. What do you want me to say? Just whatever you're comfortable. And he says, hi, how you doing? I'm Matt. Right? All right. You got me. You got Lanter. But yeah, that was a good one. I love it.
Yeah. If you and I'm sure you guys have probably watched it, but if you ever get a chance to watch a show with Matt Lanter, watch Timeless. That was a really cool show. It's a time travel show. He plays an army officer, and they do it's like a whole time travel show. Really good, and it's a shame that it didn't get more than just 2 seasons. 2 seasons. I think I got 2 seasons in a movie, a made-for-TV movie, but definitely worth a watch. He does a great job.
I've done some voice acting, and I think it's such a fascinating career. And as a longtime video game player, it amuses me to think that somewhere there's a guy who spent an entire day in a booth going, Sonic Boom. Again, Sonic Boom. All right, next, Yoga Fire. I love thinking of that. And I listen to a lot of audiobooks too when I travel. And this is kind of off the Star Wars topic, but I have to touch on this. Stephen King has a book called a short story called Rainy Season. And it is about 2 people on vacation in a New England town. And through nothing or no reason that's ever explained, carnivorous frogs fell out of the sky on this one weekend every year. And so it's this couple's adventures trying to avoid being eaten by these horrible monster demonic frogs. The audiobook is read by Yardley Smith. Do you know that name?
Yep. She's she plays Lisa Simpson.
She's not acting on The Simpsons. That's just her voice. So this is a Stephen King story told to you by Lisa Simpson, and it's pretty fun.
Oh my gosh.
Really enjoyed that.
That's like a perfect pairing.
The same book has a short story called Crouch End, which, Garrett, if you know Rainy Season, I'm sure you know Crouch End. It's sort of a Lovecraftian, forbidden corner of London. That one's read by Tim Curry, much more appropriate. But still classic. I wanted to touch on, just while we're getting to know one another, I'm also a huge comic book reader. Okay, so I think what they are doing with the Star Wars comic books has been unbelievable. Now I'm a little behind. I don't buy the individuals. I only get the trade paperbacks, because if I buy the individuals, I'm just going to get the trade paperback anyway. But what they did with Vader and the characters they've introduced, I think we talked about this last week, Garrett. Dr. Aphra is, I think, the best addition to the canon. If Lara Croft, Han Solo, and Indiana Jones all got together and had a kid and then raised her to work for Darth Vader, I know that's a long way to go, but I think it's a pretty good analogy.
I would also throw in Q from James Bond as a parent.
Okay, yes.
Because she's so technical.
Sure. True.
One of my favorite scenes from India is when they capture the Vader. I think it was one of the Vader comics where they finally capture Acosta Nu, the librarian.
Yes,
and she's on that thing, and she tells all the clone troopers who Vader is. And there's just that one split second. The next thing you see, all of the clone troopers.
There's a scene like that in the novel Lords of the Sith. There's a scene like that where Palpatine and Vader crash on their shuttle, and there's only 2 survivors of their guard.
Yeah,
but they have witnessed Palpatine use the Force.
Ooh.
And Palpatine is like, it's a shame that no one else survived. And Vader's like, actually, those 2 guys. He's like, it's a shame no one else survived.
Oh, yeah. I read that one. And Vader
right?
the floor with them.
There's 2 ones I remember watching. And one is, there's one where they're on some planet somewhere, and one of the stormtroopers sees Vader without his helmet on.
Yeah.
And you just see, it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And the next panel is his head is facing the opposite way. I'm just like, oh, or the my favorite, another one of my favorite lines in one of the Vader comics is when it was the first, like, it was supposed to be the first time where Luke and Vader had faced off against each other.
Yes.
And Luke makes a comment, "You killed my father." And he said, "You'll have to be more specific. I've killed many fathers." And I love the fact that Vader wipes the floor with him.
Yep.
Vader completely, like he should. Like,
Vader's got jokes. Vader's got jokes, and he's always,
that's why
always sad jokes.
Everybody makes fun of. I remember everyone, kind of rolled their eyes when Vader made the comment in Rogue One about try not to choke on your aspirations. Like, oh, Vader got dad jokes. I'm like, have you forgotten?
Right.
Apology accepted, Captain Nita.
Exactly. Did you guys happen to watch BoJack Horseman?
No.
I don't.
But
I can only take so much of Will Arnett's voice before I have to cheese grade my ears.
I'm the opposite. But there's a running gag that when BoJack does stand-up comedy, there's always a long period of, do you get it? Did you get the joke? Because I said it, and I made a meme of Vader saying, careful not to choke on your aspirations. Cut to BoJack. Do you get it? Because aspirations means hope, but it also means breathing. Do you get it? Do you get the joke? I think that's great. I really have enjoyed the novels as well. Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy. I was slow to come to it, but I had the benefit of being a professional traveler when Disney bought the franchise. So all of a sudden, all these new books and new comics getting poured out on us. I'm just in hotels 80% of the year, and I don't really drink. So like, I'm not going out with my colleagues, and I'm in California. My wife is in North Carolina. So like, we're on a different schedule. So like, we'd watch a show or two on her time, and then it's time for her to go to bed. And I'm like, oh, I got 3 more hours before I'm even tired. So let's read some comic books. And some of the stuff. Did we talk about Tales of Luke Skywalker last week?
No, we didn't. We didn't talk.
This is Tales of Luke Skywalker is an anthology book, and it drove me nuts when it came out because it is. I was already having a hard time explaining the difference between Legends and Disney canon on the regular. I'm an admin on a fairly large size Star Wars group, and I also admin a very large size Star Wars fan page. And so I'm having to explain what the canon is too much. And to that, here's what Disney does to us. They released that book, which is an in-canon collection of stories that are known to not all of them are true. So these are stories people tell. So these are canonically stories that exist within the universe, but they are not canonically true.
You did mention this last week, yeah.
It's so crazy. And there's a character who references having seen the special edition. He's like, no, I don't believe in the Death Star because I've seen sometimes the explosion has a ring of fire and sometimes it doesn't. Like, you're killing me, Disney. But no, the comic books are amazing. I love what they did with the droids. Back to Dr. Aphra. Dr. Aphra's droid BT-1, the Blastomech, right? Anybody unfamiliar? This is an assassin droid in the guise of an astromech. And something I think is funny, I don't know if it's not really highlighted too much, but astromechs appear to be sort of magical. They always have exactly the tool they need, and it's always on exactly the panel they need it to be. Like, there's never a time when Luke's like, R2, can you interface with whatever or do whatever? And R2's like, nope, sorry, I don't have that attachment. They always have that attachment, right? BB-8 with like the different arm he made to get into stuff. So the way astromechs work is the same way BT-1 works. And there's a couple scenes in the Dr. Aphra comic where BT-1 just opens up, and it's like that scene in The Mask where he pulls out, he's got like 7,000 guns. BT-1 is just nothing but armory, and just does an amazing job. But they really borrowed heavily from the IG-88 storyline in that. If you remember Tales of the Bounty Hunters, he has almost the same origin story where he was designed on this Tarkin Initiative distant base, and as soon as they turned him on, he killed everyone and blew up the base and shut down. He's like, all right, just going to go into sleep mode until there's somebody else to kill. And that's a fun character to get behind. I can respect that. Oh man. Is that a physical door or one of those labels?
This was at the Indianapolis Children's Museum. They had a display there. So we're both doing the raising the roof, as you can tell.
Nice. That's good. Well, To sum up, if anybody's not gathered this, I am a guy who loves Star Wars, every angle of it, every asset of it. I read the comics, I read the books, I make memes, I collect. Now I collect predominantly Palpatine, which is some funny stuff. I have a King of the Hill joke I make. I collect Palpatine and Palpatine accessories, because if it's got Palpatine on it,
It's pretty
I
good.
get, thanks. I got like Burger King toys. I've got the Palpatine Star Tot, which is
nice.
they were going to be figures. They ended up not making a figure out of it. Let me see what else I can reach. I showed you the llama last week. These are fun. These little Galactic Heroes. Oops. Galactic Heroes fighters. I've got the hologram version and the non-hologram version.
That's cool.
So yeah, any kind of, it's fun to, my wife really gets me on this. One of my favorite coffee mugs. I had to explain this to my mom. I don't so much like something that someone wears that says Star Wars. What I prefer is something that someone in Star Wars would use.
Mm-hmm.
So like not a coffee cup that says Star Wars. I have a coffee cup that says property of the Death Star Cantina. And then
Nice.
I had to make the meme. Right? I like my women like I like my coffee. Pretty strong, a little bitter, a little sweet, and removed from the Death Star without authorization.
Nice.
So I got
Do you
this
guys?
one.
Yeah, I wanted to see what kind of. Okay, oh, I like that.
Slightly over 12 parsecs.
Sure.
And then this is another. It's a
Oh,
kind of a
yeah.
3D poster. The X-wings. My favorite ship in all of Star Wars.
A friend of mine sent me this. I see ads for this generally in the context of like Disney princesses.
Yeah.
But this is the cheat music for the Emperor's entry music, with obviously the Emperor superimposed on it.
That's so cool.
Oh, and then my daughter gave me this for Father's Day several years ago.
I've seen that. That's really cool.
Yeah, with a little.
Those are sweet.
Yes.
I had a funny moment. Speaking of Legos, I keep my Legos. I can't get them down right now, but I keep all my Lego Palpatines and associated Palpatine-related figures on a Lego lightsaber. I read one of these, like, before you go to Disney World, you should know, like, 12 things you should know about Disney World. Number 8 will astonish you. It didn't astonish me so much, but number 8 was, if you ask the right staff member, they'll make you a lightsaber out of Lego, like for you, like your size. And so, okay, cool. So I go there and I ask who I think might be the right staff member. You know the guy. Beard, receding hairline, ponytail, right? Little overweight. Hey, man, I heard if I ask the right person, they'd make a lightsaber. Are you that guy? He says, you want Lee. And he goes and he gets who would have been my second guess. Asian guy, man bun, chemical symbol tattoo. And he made me an awesome Lego lightsaber, red naturally. And that's something funny. I had another moment similar to that at the Disney downtown thing right outside of Disneyland in Anaheim. I didn't so much want to go into the park, right? Like, I'm just looking for some Palpatine stuff. I'll see if I can find something special here. And so I go to the Star Wars stuff, and this was October before Force Awakens opens. So it's all new stuff, right? But I'm like, okay. So I go in there, and this child comes skipping up to me, and she says, "Hi, welcome to the Star Wars experience. Can I help you find something?" "Yes, thanks. I'm looking for anything with Palpatine on it." And she says, "Palpatine. All right, fine. You were born 17 years after he died. I get it. Maybe Darth Sidious mean anything to you, that character?" And she's like, oh, right. You must mean Kylo Ren." And she was like,
What?
He's got a 3-bladed lightsaber. It's really cool. Right this way. I said, "I'm sorry. Please do not take this the wrong way. Thank you so much for helping me. But do you maybe have a male colleague I could speak to who is a little overweight?" She said, and I say that with love because I am a male who's a little overweight. Like, these are my people. But I asked her that, and she said, "You need Steve." And she brought me Steve, who's exactly who I needed to talk to. Yeah, man, sorry, it's all just the new stuff, man, but I'll give you the address to a store down the road. It just like he hooked me right up. It's exactly what I wanted. But like that moment of like, this 16-year-old and I are not going to be able to speak the same language in the amount of time I have. Like, I got to get back to the hotel. Like, it's a 3-hour drive.
So, Brian, I showed this to John when I got this a few months ago, but I got this in the mail.
Ooh.
I'm a big fan of the Dr. Squatch brand, and when I found out that they had a special edition Star Wars set, edition, I got it. And we have Wisdom Wash, Dark Side Scrub, Only Hope Soap, and Ruthless Rinse.
Yes, I got that too. I actually used mine.
This is my last resort for when I run out of soaps.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
I'm looking for something I might get down. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Let's see. I got the Bear Brick Palpatine.
Nice.
Which my wife once, she said, you know, it's kind of funny working in this office. It's like working in a Star Wars toy store. And I said, it is like working in a Star Wars toy museum, madam. I have put some time in on this. I still have the Palpatine I mailed away for in 1983.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's right. You had to mail away for that character.
Yeah.
And you had to do that for Boba Fett as well.
And for LOM.
And for who?
For Forlom. Except.
Oh, yeah.
Except what you got was Zuckuss. That was when they had the names swapped.
Oh, freaking!
So I got 4LOM, but he was the Gand, I think it is his species, the one that breathes ammonia. He's like beige guy, the beige bug-eyed guy with the mask, but he was labeled as Forlom.
Yeah.
Those are, and that's the kind of thing I also really appreciate about our fandom and the history behind it, because we use the word canon a lot, but I don't know that everybody gives it thought that often about what that means. This is a belief system. It's not just like I've met people who absolutely swear up and down Jar Jar Binks is a Sith. Absolutely, he is for sure. Like, that's canon. And I'm like, I know that like there's some hints of it, and I do believe that Lucas was aiming for it, but this person angrily and at some volume told me for some time that creator intent has the same weight as film appearance. All right, so Han Solo is a green, furry, 7-foot-tall alien. Is that what we're also saying? And it's fun to see how, because it's all fictional, right? We can interpret things differently. And back to what
understand what the word canon actually means.
Right. Well, I make jokes about, like, what are you, Star Wars Lutherans? Like, I see, like, that's not my Luke. He was never your Luke. And it's like, nail your live journal to the door of the church, and I'm sure, or Skywalker Ranch, I guess I should say. And I'm sure Lucas will change his mind. But I think that's funny because we take it so seriously. It's so important to all of us. But it's all just make believe, right? And I think it's important to keep a sense of that.
Well, and to be fair, and I heard this, I was listening to a YouTube video earlier today by a YouTuber named crap, I can't even remember the guy's name. He's an Irish dude. Pretty solid following, but nope, lost it. Anyway, but he was talking about how Star Wars fans, probably more so than any other fandom out there when it comes to science fiction or fantasy, are incredibly protective of the lore that we love so much, probably more so than Star Trek fans, Harry Potter fans, or anything else. Like, and part of it, but it gets so divisive because there are two camps to it. People who grew up pre-Disney, people who have grown up post-Disney.
Right.
And so there's the differing sides, and it's almost like dealing with Sith and Jedi. And then there are the people who like our group here that I mean, while I've got my own opinions regarding some of the things that's been happening in the last decade or so, I mean, for the most part, I enjoy it all the same. And we're kind of in that gray area. Yes, that is a pun intended.
Don't say great.
We're in that middle ground, that neutral zone where
That's called foreshadowing.
I'm a writer. It's what I do. No,
Nicely done.
We're able to appreciate it for what it is, and it may not be our favorite thing, but we will at least find something that we can find appreciative about it. I mean, case in point, I mean, the Young Jedi Adventures, totally not made for people in our age demographic. It's made for people. It's made for, like my kid, who for whatever reason would much rather watch Godzilla stomping on Tokyo than anything to do with Star Wars.
That's good parenting.
Well, I don't know.
Oh wait, anything to do with Star Wars? Yeah, okay, tricky.
Yeah, he won't touch Star Wars with a 10-meter cattle prod. But you've got a 10-meter cattle prod, don't you?
No, but this was my daughter's Palpatine.
Love it.
And this was my Christmas present. She said, "Dad, what do you want for Christmas?" And then she said, "Probably something Palpatine." She was 5 at the time. Like, yes, honey, that'd be great. I said, "Can you draw me a picture of Palpatine?" And she also wrote her name in Arabesh.
Good for her.
That's cool.
With a little cat. So yeah, she's she doesn't so much like the movies, but she knows I do, and she knows how to like we'll lightsaber battle. It's a good time.
Yeah,
but go on, Garrett. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. My son will lightsaber battle me, but only because he gets to beat up on Dad. So.
Yeah, my daughter's better at it than I would like to admit. I'm like, oh yes, I'm letting her win. But yeah, she's pretty good.
She's figured out your defenses.
Yeah, pretty well. I don't do a lot of dueling. Most of my lightsaber work is posing. And the few times I have dueled, I do the Palpatine cackle the whole time, and it is unnerving. I have done better at duels than I would have if the guy's like, I can't concentrate. Like that's the thing. That's my Force shriek working against you. But yeah, I think, and that's something fun for me, and I hope this comes across as we all get to know one another and talk about this more and more. Even the things that I would say, I hate that. I hate it, but I love to talk about it. Like there's topics I just do not care for in Star Wars. I cannot get behind, but I will talk to you all day about why I don't like it. And like, I was very big against the "not my Luke" hashtag when that was like when I guess Force Awakens Last Jedi thing. A lot of people were very down on how Luke was handled as a character, and I can see their complaints. I can respect that, but I was very much, again, condescendingly and at some volume, I would say, he was never your character. Just because you've consumed this product doesn't make it yours. How many cheeseburgers can you buy before you're the VP in charge of marketing for McDonald's? Doesn't work that way. If you don't like it, stop buying it. And that was the analogy I made, actually, was McDonald's. Imagine like I knew people who I went to see that movie 4 times just to make sure it was really that bad. Okay, well, all Lucasfilm sees is you bought a ticket 4 times. So this is, you go to McDonald's 3 meals a day, and every meal you fill out a comment card that tells them how bad the food is. Why should they change it? You're eating it 3 meals a day and spending the time to tell them about it. You love this topic. You love hating it so much. You spend more time hating it than you would if you just didn't pay any attention to it.
Yeah.
And so, but it's very easy for me to say that when they're not making a Palpatine origin story, because I heard they were going to. And the rumor was that the backstory was not going to follow Darth Plagueis. It was going to be a whole new story where we learn that Sheev Palpatine turned to the dark side because of a broken heart. And that was going to send me back to Stargate. I swear to God, you guys, like, not a broken heart. No. Oh. That reminds me, I want to touch on this earlier, just to go back to voice actors real quick. The audiobook of Darth Plagueis is what got me involved in voice acting, what interested me. And I was like, I could kind of do this voice. I'm going to buy a cloak and get into it. I recently learned that the narrator of the Darth Plagueis audiobook is the butler from The Nanny.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
That-
here's the
and that-
best part. He's
it makes
not
me
good at-
happy. No, it makes me happy in my heart. But because I was just like, that is because I have placed this voice on such a pedestal. And I like The Nanny, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of a different thing than Star Wars, and much less like
But
what I would call
it's-
my instigating factor is what got me into voice acting.
He's
and cosplay.
also been in a couple of episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation as Moriarty.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, yes, he
Ooh.
has. It took me. I haven't watched Next Generation in a long time. Although I will watch Lower Decks all day long. We can do a whole
I
other
love
podcast.
Lower Decks.
I haven't gotten to see the final season yet because my access to Paramount Plus has.
They haven't done the final season hasn't gone up yet.
But the most
final
recent
season
one.
of Discovery is up right now. They haven't done the final season of Lower Decks yet.
Oh well, I got through like part of season 4, I guess, and then I wasn't able to watch anything more.
Did you get to see them go to the Orion homeworld?
Yes,
Yes.
that
Wait.
was good.
Yes.
Yes.
Where Tendy's family is all pirates.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
also like pirate royalty. Like,
Yes.
how are we going to get into this club? Let us in. It's so great.
Not to go this way off topic, but my favorite one is still when they're who is the main villain for the main bad guys for season 3? The dumb.
Yeah.
They're the race that are really
Pack-Leds?
dumb. The pack
They blow up their own planet. Yeah, that's it.
blow up their own planet, or the one spy comes on. He keeps asking, "I want to see how a ship go fast," and then he ends up walking out the airlock. And you just see him floating by the ship, and then they bring
How
it.
have you
then they
evolved to
bring it
this
back in,
point?
and he's so dumb. They're so dumb that they don't realize they should die in outer space. He just comes back to life.
I like that kind of. I was really disappointed that they took the animated Star Wars comedy show off the roster. They were going to make one. I forget what it's called, but there was like Coruscant Nights or something. There was some animated show, and I think they put 2 seasons in the can, and they just decided not to release it because I like that Robot Chicken kind of humor, and I love how Lower Decks views what many people consider to be no less sacred than we consider Star Wars,
Yeah.
but see it as a joke. And
And that's the thing is, if
some
you
of that
look
stuff
at-
is funny.
If you look at Robot Chicken, the Star Wars stuff that that Seth Green did in Robot Chicken, you can tell it's the same thing with Lower Decks. You can tell that these are just people like, let's just make fun of it because these are stupid nerds. But you can tell
Sure.
these, Seth and the people that did Lower Decks. These are people that love that franchise and love those things, and you can see that come in because you can see that again, Lower Decks. You can see that these are people that, one, they know the material. Same thing with Seth Green. You can tell he knows the material, he knows the fandom, and he knows just what buttons to hit. Where it's not making fun of us as nerds and fans in a way that seems mean or demeaning. But it's one of those things.
They're
that you're
making
just
jokes you would make with your friends around the table.
Yeah. The what the heck is aluminum? What the heck is an aluminum falcon? I
You're
love
right.
that line.
In Lower Decks, the first episode I saw that sold me on the whole show was when Boimler, I didn't know the background, but Boimler shows up and they're like, "Oh, you're back. What happened?" And he says, "I got transporter cloned." Pay up. It just seems like a Boimler thing to happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm watching this show. Well, that I don't want to run us too far over, and I will do so if you let me. But I am so glad to be here. It's a real pleasure to work with you guys, and I'm looking forward to sharing more Star Wars and what you guys love about it and what I love about it. And this is a good time, man. Thank you guys for having me on board, and I hope the audience does not disapprove because I am susceptible to my need to please people. So anyway, I hope I'm looking forward to the rest of the chapters.
Nice. All right. Well, why don't you, Garrett? Why don't you start off by telling the people out there where they can find you at?
All right. Well, you guys can, of course, find me on Instagram and X at GKJ_publishing, where I talk about my books, The Archives of Ysink Ran. It's a 5-book fantasy series. It's ongoing. I'm in the process of working on the next entry. Hopefully someone will buy it. I also talk about my show on YouTube, which is called The Right Way. You guys can find me out by searching GKJ Publishing. On that show, I talk about top 10 book recommendations, author interviews, and creative writing tips. This season, we're focusing on writing poetry. And so I had a live stream this last Saturday. I've got another one coming up on June 1st where I'll be doing writing workshops. And then I've just got a couple more episodes this season before I wrap up for the summer.
All right. Brian, why don't you go next and tell people where they can find you at?
Sure. I am on Facebook. I'm one of the admins on the Sith Library and Archives. I post as Darth Korosis, and I also have a Facebook page in that regard. I am 50, and so I don't do a great deal of that so much. Between my age and my child, I'm not as active as I once was, but I can always be reached that way too. So, yep, Instagram on Korosis, which, by the way, Korosis is the only thing I wrote in 8th grade that I still like. That was the name of my Sith character in the West End Games tabletop role-playing game. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm out there, and I'm looking forward to working with your audience and hearing what they think of the show and hearing more. This is real exciting. I've been out of the podcast game since 2019, so it's really good to be back on a microphone.
Nice. As for us right now, here you can watch. Oh, there it is. If you want to email us, that is warofthestars1@gmail.com. We are on Instagram at War of the Stars, and on X at warofthestars1, and on YouTube under again, that is not the correct.
Oh yeah, we got to update that.
Yeah, I have to do that too. I gotta make some changes. Anyway, it is now under Star Wars Through the Eyes of a Child, which is also our my other show, where me and my daughter are going through the Clone Wars in chronological order. So not the order that they were actually produced in or shown in, but the orders that they take place in the canon. It's very confusing. We just recorded our last episode on Sunday, so I'll be putting that out pretty soon. You can find that on our YouTube channel, and also on Geek News Now. We are part of the Geek News Now network on YouTube and Spotify. So you can check us out if you're have YouTube. You can see our beautiful faces every week. You can check out all the other shows that are on GNN. I know they have several good Star Wars shows, Sith Dominion, and the Cantina Happy Hour. Also check out MCU Mondays, which was going live probably pretty soon. So I'm guessing they're going to be talking about the season finale of X-Men 97. Again, if you haven't, that's another show. If you haven't watched X-Men 97 on Disney Plus, if you're an X-Men fan, watch this show. It was amazing.
That was
very, very good. Anyway, let's see what else we got. Oh, yes. If you want to support the show, Ko-fi.com/War of the Stars. You can leave us a tip there. We do have a Patreon page. We just, if you want to leave something there too, go ahead. Patreon.com/War of the Stars. And of course, as you can see, I'm wearing our War of the Stars official T-shirt with our logo. We have a couple other designs too there that you can check out at spreadshirt.com/shop/War of the Stars and get that. As for we'll do it for us. Again, welcome Brian to the War of Stars family. Good to have you here. And of course, like we always say, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
Never tell me the odds.
Magneto was right. Wait.
Oh.